When Lucia got pregnant, she thought her life was about to truly begin. She had spent 3 years with Andres, sharing a small apartment, modest dreams and promises that he repeated as if they were sacred contracts. She worked as a freelance designer. He aspired to grow in the real estate world. They weren't rich, but Lucia believed that love was enough. Until the day he looked at her without tenderness and uttered the sentence that would break her inside. "Nobody wants a pregnant woman," Andres said, leaning on the counter. "Besides, you are unattractive. You don't deserve love now." Lucia felt the air disappear. She was 4 months pregnant. Her belly was barely noticeable, but for Andres, it was already a burden. He didn't ask if the baby was okay. He didn't ask how she felt. He only talked about himself, about his future, about how he wasn't ready to ruin his life. That same night, Lucia packed her things in silence. She didn't scream, she didn't cry in front of him. She went out with an old suitcase and her broken heart. It was raining outside, as if the sky understood exactly what she was losing. For weeks, Lucia lived in her aunt's house in a poor neighborhood in Valencia. She slept little. Every night, Andres' words came back to her like a cruel echo. "You don't deserve love." She began to believe it. She avoided looking at herself in the mirror, covered herself in baggy clothes, and stopped accepting calls from friends. She felt ashamed of existing. One day, her aunt got her a temporary job as an administrative assistant at a high-profile charity event. It wasn't glamorous, but it paid enough to save a little before the birth matter. Lucia accepted without enthusiasm. She just needed to survive. The event was held at a luxury hotel on the seafront. Sparkling glass, spotless carpets, and people dressed in suits that cost more than she had earned in months. Lucia wore a simple, understated black dress. Her belly was already evident. She noticed some curious glances, others clearly judgmental. As she organized files in a private room, someone spoke behind her. "Excuse me, do you know where the main hall is?" Lucia turned and was met by a tall man in his 40s, wearing a perfectly tailored gray suit, his gaze serene. He didn't have the arrogant air she associated with the wealthy. "Yes, of course," she replied. "It's in the back, to the right." "Thank you," he said, but he didn't leave right away. "And congratulations." Lucia blinked in confusion. "Excuse me?" Her pregnancy smiled naturally. Clearly she loves caring for her baby. No one had said something like that to her since Andres left. She felt a lump in her throat. "Thank you," she murmured. The man was Alejandro Valdez, one of Spain's most discreet billionaires. Founder of an international technology group, known for avoiding the press and for his quiet philanthropy. But Lucia didn't know that. To her, he was just someone who didn't see her as a problem. They ran into each other several times during the event. Alejandro always found an excuse to ask her if she was comfortable, if she needed to sit down, if she had eaten anything. He wasn't invasive, just attentive. Without realizing it, Lucia began to smile more. By the end of the night, he asked her permission to invite her for coffee another day. "Only if you feel like it," he clarified. No strings attached. Lucia hesitated. Her first reaction was to think, why would someone like him be interested in me? Then she remembered Andres' words and felt angry. Why should she keep believing that? "Okay," she accepted. "A coffee." That coffee turned into a 3-hour conversation. Lucia talked about her work, her pregnancy, her fears. Alejandro listened without interrupting, without correcting, without judging. When she mentioned how her ex had abandoned her, he showed no pity, but respect. "What he said to you does not define your worth," he stated firmly. "Love does not disappear because a woman is pregnant." To me, that shows strength. Lucia felt something she hadn't felt in months: dignity. Weeks passed. Alejandro didn't try to touch her without permission. He didn't make any big promises. He was simply there. He accompanied her to ultrasounds when her aunt couldn't, sent her books on motherhood, took a genuine interest in her well-being. One day, Lucia discovered who he really was when she saw his face on a business magazine. "Is that you?" she asked, showing him the cover. Alejandro sighed. "Yes. I understand if this bothers you." Lucia shook her head. "It bothers me that you didn't tell me before, but I appreciate that you never made me feel small." Alejandro looked at her with a calm intensity. "Because you're not." As the pregnancy progressed, rumors began to circulate. People who knew Alejandro were surprised to see him with a pregnant woman who wasn't part of the social elite. Some looked at her with disdain, others with envy. Lucia felt insecure again. "I don't fit into your world," she told him one night. "People think I'm with you for money." Alejandro took her hands. "I chose you because you're brave. Because you keep going even when they told you you didn't deserve love. If someone doesn't understand that, it's their problem, not ours." The day Alejandro asked her to be his official partner, there was no ring or cameras. Just a simple dinner and one clear phrase. "I want to be with you, with everything you are and everything that's coming. If you want it." Lucia cried. Not from sadness, but from relief. Months later, her daughter was born. Alejandro was there from the very first moment, holding her hand, Lucia, crying shamelessly. He wasn't the biological father, but he was the father he chose to be. The press exploded when it became known that billionaire Alejandro Valdez had a pregnant partner and a family life outside of the usual norms. Some headlines were cruel, others inspiring. Lucia no longer hid. She walked with her head held high, not because she was a millionaire girlfriend, but because she had learned something essential. Her worth never depended on the acceptance of a man who didn't know how to love. Andres and she ran into each other that day. He looked at her in surprise, then confused when he saw the luxury car waiting for her and Alejandro holding the baby. "See, things worked out fine," he said. Lucia smiled calmly. "Things have always gone well for me. I just needed to believe it." She left without looking back. Because the woman who was told she didn't deserve love while pregnant was chosen not for her body or her past or her need, but for her strength. And this time, love came to stay.